Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're exploring the bizarre, intense, and quite frankly, highly structured world of corporate executive psychological testing. If you've ever wondered what really goes on behind the closed doors of elite corporate hiring, well, you are in the right place. We're going to dig into the methods, the sheer madness, and the deeply controversial science behind how companies select their top leaders. To really wrap our heads around this landscape, we have to look at the ultimate goal driving these corporate investigators and psychologists. They throw a massive battery of aptitude and personality tests at candidates with one incredibly specific aim. They want to, and I quote, strip people psychologically naked. I mean, wow, that is a powerful and honestly pretty intimidating quote straight from the source material. Basically, it means they want to break through that polished, practiced exterior you bring to an interview and expose your raw personality, your hidden flaws, and your absolute deepest psychological triggers. So let's move into part one, the 14-hour interrogation, which is essentially the grueling gauntlet of executive hiring. We aren't just talking about your standard 30-minute tell me about your weaknesses chat over coffee. We are talking about 14 hours. These evaluations can sometimes stretch out for up to an exhausting 14 hours of continuous probing. Think about that for a second. Imagine sitting in a room for nearly 2 full workdays, constantly being analyzed, questioned, and tested on your mental endurance. It's literally a marathon, and it's designed not just to test what you know, but to see exactly how long you can maintain that professional mask before sheer exhaustion kicks in and the real you slips out. That brings us to part two, inside the assessment arsenal, or how corporations go about measuring mental agility and personality. First up in their toolkit, we've got intelligence and speed tests. Aspiring managers are routinely hit with rapid-fire exams evaluating their verbal skills, idea fluency, and arithmetic reasoning. A really prime example of this is the Wonderlic test. It's just 12 minutes long, but it packs in 50 questions. Originally, this was actually designed to measure the progress of school kids, but corporations use it as a super high-pressure metric for raw mental agility. The whole point is to see how well an executive processes an absolute avalanche of information under a brutally strict time limit. From there, things get, well, a little weird. We move into the most intrusive and controversial methods, personality and projective tests. In a projective test, you're presented with ambiguous stimuli. The working theory here is that because the task is completely open-ended, you're going to subconsciously project your own inner anxieties, your motivations, and your true personality traits right onto the task itself. It supposedly gives the psychologist a backstage pass to who you really are beneath the surface. I really want you to picture this scenario. You're an accomplished professional. You're sitting in a fancy corporate office vying for a massive 6-figure leadership role, and someone hands you a blank piece of paper and asks you to draw a tree. Or maybe they slide a murky, ambiguous photograph across the desk and ask you to invent a story about what the people in it are doing. You might even have to complete half-finished sentences or check off a list of personal complaints. I know it sounds a lot like a child's workbook, doesn't it? But psychologists rely on these exact tasks to mine for deep underlying psychological data. And then, of course, there are the judgment and strategy assessments. How would you answer this? It's a real question used in corporate evaluations. What would you do if you discovered a fire in the basement of a theater? This kind of question is paired alongside other hypotheticals, like asking a salesperson how large of an order they'd push for when a client is ready to buy. It's all to test a candidate's practical logic, their situational awareness, and their strategic judgment when a sudden crisis hits. Moving right along to part three, secret tests and hidden judgments. These are the psychological traps you absolutely don't see coming. This is where the testing takes a sharp turn, from obvious puzzles to completely covert psychological traps. Take simulated stress tests, for example. Some companies actually use these highly questionable methods where an interviewer intentionally tries to provoke you. They might aggressively point out a physical flaw or ask something deeply insulting. And the wild part, they don't even care about your actual answer. The goal is just to see if you get completely embarrassed, angry, or if you end up losing your cool under a sudden, unprovoked personal attack. Even those standard, patterned interviews about your family background or finances, yeah, those are heavily layered too. Think about how this works in practice. The interviewer casually asks you the voiced question, "How did you get along with your father?" Sounds innocent enough, right? But on their structured form, they are secretly answering the unvoiced psychological question, how does this candidate react to authority? Basically, every casual little anecdote you share is being translated into data about your underlying psychological framework. They are always trying to get behind your facade. But the absurdity really peaks when we look at the alternative methods. For top-level executive candidates, the folks who might find drawing a picture of a house or answering murky personality questions a bit too embarrassing or beneath them, some companies completely ditch the standard psychological testing. And what do they use instead? Handwriting analysis. I am not making this up. They are literally deciding the fate of a massive corporation based on the loops of a candidate's cursive letters, which, by the way, is a practice largely considered to be utter pseudoscience. Which brings us to the most crucial section of this explainer, Part 4, the unreliability problem. Do these tests actually predict success? So, after the exhausting 14-hour gauntlets, the projective true drawings, and the cursive handwriting analysis, we really have to ask the big question, do these methods actually work? Well, it's time to pull back the curtain on a massive reliability problem. Despite how popular these tests are for quickly screening potential managers, critics and psychologists are throwing up huge red flags. They argue these tests severely lack predictive validity. In plain English, successfully completing a half-finished sentence or keeping a straight face while someone insults you during a stress test simply does not correlate to actually running a complex business. The skills you need to expertly navigate a clinical psychological battery are entirely different from the skills you need to navigate a volatile economic market, manage a real team, or make high-stakes decisions. And here is the grand irony, the core reliability flaw you absolutely need to take away from this. There is a massive disconnect in the outcomes. A company's stated goal is almost always to identify and hire dynamic, innovative, visionary leaders. But what do these psychological batteries actually measure reliably? Conformity. Dynamic, out-of-the-box thinkers usually have unique psychological profiles that inherently trigger red flags on these standardized rubrics, because these tests are heavily engineered to find safe, middle-of-the-road personalities who won't rock the boat. They possess a built-in unreliability. They are literally filtering out the exact type of transformational leaders the company set out to hire in the first place. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. If a highly innovative mind is marked as an anomaly by a 12-minute agility test, or penalized for drawing a tree the wrong way, who's actually winning here? By heavily relying on these bizarre assessments, is corporate America accidentally screening out its absolute best talent? Are the very tests designed to find top executives actually the exact thing keeping them out of the boardroom? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a completely new perspective on the hidden hurdles of corporate leadership.